Now, welcome back to the Baseball Hut. I don't normally do my intro when I'm on camera. Usually do my intro, you know, you know, don't want to really do that intro too much. But this is the Baseball Hut, and we're live again here, but on the big channel. Before we get into this, hit that. A lot to talk about. Obviously, a lot of stuff to talk about here today. The hellhole known as New York City. We'll talk about a lot of stuff here. Prospects to talk about. Some free agents still out there. And of course, our Mets and WFAN and ESPN trying to get in on the action of attacking the Mets. So we're going to get into this momentarily. Just going to give people a chance to come in. We'll see how this goes. I think that months I'll be doing stuff off the phone. It does go into the app. It goes into YouTube directly. It's a little bit different than StreamYard. I don't really care for StreamYard so much anymore. It's a pain in the neck. At least I could do this on the phone. So get me a little more directly here. And I think it's better for the algorithm, I think, to do it directly into the app. I would mention this. Oh, scatterbrained as I get this show started. I'll probably be doing stuff on Twitter, probably live videos on Twitter. I went into this, and I swear to God, I can't get out of it. It was like a trap. It's a trap. I'm trying to get out of it all day. I can't get out to the comic book account. It's a pain in my ass right now. But anyway, let's talk about the Mets, shall we? Well, it's funny I should mention that. Well, Kodai Senga, I wouldn't say he's hurt, but he has a bit of an issue with his arm. Arm fatigue is what they call it. I was looking it up. The sky isn't falling right now. Far from it. In all likelihood, he's got a dead arm, meaning that a lot of pitchers go through this. All the pitchers go through this. Well, they don't feel their arm. The arm don't bounce back. And they shut him down. Now, this was noticed by the Japanese contingent that followed the Mets, and they asked Carlos Mendoza, the Mets manager, what's the deal? What's the deal? And he told him that he's some kind of, arm fatigue. It's not a terrible thing. I know that some of the anti-Met fans that are out there, and there are a lot, I think everything that happens is some bad sign from God or whatever, that they're cursed, that the Mets are cursed. It's not a curse, just natural thing. But we'll see how that pans out. Now, people are talking about a lot today. I wouldn't go so far as this. I mentioned sign Jordan Montgomery. They should bring in Blake. Let me tell you something about, especially Scott Boras players. Some of those guys, and I'll talk about them at the end of the video, later on in the live stream. A lot of those guys, folks, are going to be waiting probably till the All-Star break, especially those that have qualifying offers. They're going to pull a Michael Conforto and not sign with a team, or not sign with a team at all. Now, it's funny, I start out with talking about Kodai Senga, because I was going to talk about the pitching to start out this live stream. And Mets have a very interesting staff. Just in general, I think that the bullpen is going to be really good this year. Obviously, with Edwin Diaz returning, with certain guys still being part of this club. Brooks Raley's coming back. They re-signed Adam Ottavino. I'm not too happy that Drew Smith is back. My feeling is he needed to be DFA. They didn't do that. That's the one issue that I had this offseason. That the Mets should have gotten rid of him, because he's given up too many home runs. He does too many damn sliders, and really he's way too predictable as a pitcher. I was also not too pleased with them having signed Jorge Lopez. Aside from that little stretch he had with Baltimore in 2022, he's not been a good major league pitcher. He's been a lousy one. So I wasn't too enamored with that. But the rest of the bullpen actually shapes up pretty good. They brought in Jake Diekman, hopefully keep the walks down. He pitched rather well for the Rays last year. The Rays always get the best out of these left-handed relievers. It's crazy. And he pitched well. Then we have Shintaro Fujinami, who we saw him twice last year. If you remember, we saw him in Oakland the first month of the year. He looked pretty good. I mean, he looked terrible. What am I talking about? He looked terrible when the Mets beat up on the A's early in the season. And then he looked really good later on in the season when the Mets went to Baltimore. So he is sort of a guy, he walks a lot of batters too, but he throws really hard. He's the second guy in that bullpen that throws 100 miles an hour. Now, a couple of guys in that bullpen, we'll get to the starters momentarily. So I got sidetracked talking about the bullpen right away. He's going to talk about the strengths. That's really the Mets' strength of this club is their bullpen. Michael Tonkin. I've not seen him, but he does have a contract with the Mets, so he's going to have a chance to really make this club. And I have a whole bunch of guys here that they signed or they traded for, and we'll see how, and a lot of holdovers. One of the holdovers was Phil Bickford. How did he win an arbitration case? How did he win that arbitration case? Couldn't tell you. Reed Garrett, Grant Hardwick will be back. They brought in Max Kranick. He's going to be I guess, a starter. I guess they'll probably look at him as a spot starter, probably a long man. Johan Ramirez, they brought him in. I guess they made a trade with the White Sox during the offseason. Sean Reed Foley's back. Josh Walker will be back. He's on the 40-man roster. He's 30 years old, am I saying? He's 30 years old. I'm surprised to see his age, but he's been around a long time in the Mets organization. So this bullpen, I think, is going to be really good. The Met bullpen wasn't that bad last year, if you remember. That bullpen was actually quite good last year, just due to the fact that, believe it or not, because they didn't have Diaz, Robertson pitched really well for them last year. I mean, and then he pitched terrible for the Marlins. But with Diaz back, it really creates a better situation for the Mets late in the game. That means it shortens the game. That means that ninth inning could be locked down, shut down, which should have been what it was last year. The Mets losing Diaz, we didn't really. I kind of denied it. I know I kind of denied it myself, thinking that wasn't going to hurt them, but it did. Not only hurt them in terms of, late in the game, obviously, but also that it factor that they had. Took away, and it also took away a guy that is a very strong personality in that clubhouse. Muttley Love says, hello, Hut, how you doing? Hi, how are you? What's going on? Hit that like button if you're coming in here. And if you're subscribing for the first time, if you're in here for the first time, hit that subscribe button. Going to go for a while on this live stream until I'm going to go do every player the Mets have on the 40-man roster that has a chance to make the club. As far as I know right now, we'll get into the prospects later on in the video, but so let's talk about the rotation. Talk about Kodai Senga. Hopefully this is a blip. I watched SNY before, and they had Carlos Mendoza. They didn't seem too concerned about Senga's issue with his arm. It might just be a dead arm, tired arm. But we'll see. But we all know how good he is. He's really good. And I think he's going to have a really good year, to be honest with you. The rest of his rotation is hopefully very serviceman-like. Then there's no real stars on this group, but they need guys that are going to stay healthy. If Jose Quintana can stay healthy, he's solid. Okay? Shomanaya has not really missed any time. We'll see how he is. Does he have like the most hair in baseball on his head? He's got a lot of hair on his head. I'm like, man, just keep my hair very short. But he's got some head of hair. Adrian Houser's coming in here. They made that trade with the Brewers, and that will be interesting to see. He's not pitched a full season as a starter. He's basically been a guy, a long man, 6th man, 7th man for the rotation with the Brewers. We'll see how he is. He's sort of he's 2-3 games under 500 kind of guy. His ERA's in the 4s. He's basically a 5th star. But obviously, David Stearns has trust in him. Hello, Rocky Marciano. What's up? What's up, buddy? Hit that like button if you're coming in for the first time. I said in videos that's not important. Just get people to do something. just get people to like the video. And of course, Luis Severino. He is an interesting guy because I'll tell you why he's interesting. He's not pitched. He's not pitched regularly since 2017. Okay, and he's pitched rather well up until last year. Last year he pitched terrible. I mean, just dreadful. He said he was one of the worst starters in baseball. You can't disagree with that, folks. You can't disagree with the fact that he pitched terrible last year, just absolutely dreadful. But at least he's sober, unlike Domingo Germán. Getting into fights in the clubhouse, getting in the faces of the players in the clubhouse at Yankee Stadium. But he is a guy that he pitches well as an all-star, but he has to stay healthy. That's been his biggest issue, Severino's being healthy. Now the Mets brought in a lot of Yankees, because obviously with the manager, he wants some familiarity. And you're going to see a lot of that over the next year or so, and a lot of Brewers. So that we've seen Brewers in here. Hauser's a Brewer. I think one or two other guys play with the Brewers, but so this is, and of course Taylor as well. Tyrone Taylor, the Mets brought in as well in that trade. But it's going to be. Last year, I think we all can agree, the Mets starting rotation was going into the season. It was rated the best. And how did it pitch? Pitched dreadful. Pitched terribly. And this group cannot pitch any worse than it did. We're looking at the result. Where is the result? Is the result to win games? Of course. But if you can't get your starters out of the fourth inning, out of the fifth inning, and your bullpen is getting taxed in the middle of the game, you're not going to be able to win. And that's the one thing people, sort of forgot about with Scherzer and Verlander. Those guys were not making it out of the third and fourth inning last year. And Scherzer, in every game that was important to the Mets, he blew it every single time. And I blame him more than any other player over the last two seasons of why they struggled so mightily. They won 75 games last year. How many games did he screw up by not pitching well? Not even showing up. Quite a few, right? Quite a few. And I really believe that. I believe that Max Scherzer ruined the Mets' 2022 season. And last year too. Every big game, every single big game. This is from Blog 1977. I'm streaming with my phone. My phone's kind of far away, so if I mess up your name, I'm sorry. But Scherzer screwed up the whole season the last 2 years. And because, remember last year he got into that trouble in Los Angeles with his hands being sticky, and then he lied about it. What a joke. What a complete total joke, Embarrassing, And he didn't show up against the Braves. He didn't show up against the Padres. The Mets were out of that game against the Padres so quickly. Mets had no shot. Mets had no chance. And he really ruined the last 2 years, So you hope that these pitchers that Stearns has brought in, hopefully with a healthy Senga back, hopefully this is just a blip with this arm fatigue situation. Katana's healthy for the whole season. You have Severino, if he's able to bounce back and just we can get 140 innings out of him, I'd be happy. Get him to pitch at least 5 innings average-wise for every start that he makes. Be happy with that. And Sherman Nye's been pretty consistent. We know what you're going to get from him. We'll see if the Mets can get a little more out of Hauser than what he had with the Brewers. And what's interesting here is that we have some younger pitchers. We have these guys that have been through the Mets system, and they've pitched the last few years for the Mets. Jose Butto, Joey Lucchesi, and of course Tyler McGill. Now, and of course, Dave Peterson, who's on the injured list, he had to get hip surgery. I'm going to say this. I am not a big fan, folks. I am really not a big fan of Jeremy Hefner. And he has not done a great job of 3 of the 4 years the Mets have had him as pitching coach. The Mets have not pitched well. And I don't have a lot of faith in him. I know the Mets do. They brought him back. He's going through his third manager. And I'm not a big fan of his. I'm surprised he's still here. That's the one disappointing thing that I saw with him. Saw what the Mets had done this offseason. That irks me a lot. And there's some foul player of Brooklyn. Don Hutt with a throwback live stream. Thanks for coming on this evening. I'm going to do more of these. I probably should have done more of this in the off season. But I have so many channels. I would mention, and this is sort of a disappointment, is that the Football Hut is basically kind of done with that for the moment. Because that's been a big frustration for me, and the channel is basically losing features because I haven't done enough work on it. I don't know, somebody report the channel. I don't know if anybody report the channel, but it's not a lot going on there. And I don't feel like killing myself when I have all this work here for you with the Mets and on the Baseball Hut 2 and on the Prospect channel and on that other crazy channel that I do. And that's going to be monetized soon, but I don't want to and I was thinking about it. Football is not my wheelhouse. Baseball is, the Mets are, and that's what's most important is my sort of staying here, being focused in with the Mets, and obviously with the season beginning in a few weeks, about a month, about a month and 5 weeks, 6 weeks, I think more focused, and the football is just, I can't figure it out. I could probably get that channel monetized if I switched it to baseball. But the football, my goodness, what a struggle. Anyway, that's my problem. That's not yours. But we have a couple of pitchers that'll be bouncing back and forth. Probably in AAA and of course, the big leagues. And that is Jose Butto, Joe Lucchesi, and Tyler McGill. McGill has been a disappointment because he's had moments where he's pitched really well. And he's walked a lot of batters. He's given a lot of home runs. Okay. The problem with Hefner as the pitching coach is he is the example of that. He and David Peterson have both suffered through the same issue. Either they don't can't get through an inning, they walk tons of batters, or they give up home runs. They've both had the same issue. And the fact that the pitching coach can't correct it bothers the hell out of me. He should have been able to correct this issue. Now, 2022, they didn't have that problem so much. But it's weird about McGill. He's either pitching well, or when he loses velocity, there's a problem with the arm. And then he walks the batters, and it's just, same kind of pattern. And David Peterson's had that same pattern. Now, we have Joey Lucchesi. I like him a lot. He should get more of a chance to pitch more. He pitched rather well last year. I was very surprised the Mets didn't have him on a consistent basis in the rotation, considering that they were struggling at the back end of the rotation with Peterson in particular. Now hit that like button. Let's get to 20 likes for this live stream. That'd be great. Got 14 so far. That's great. And of course, Jose Butto. Now Butto, we saw it in 2022. He pitched in Philadelphia in his major league debut. He did not look great. He did not look great, folks. But last year he pitched quite a bit in September. I don't have the Mets numbers here because I did not. So I use my phone, to do all my stuff online when I do the videos on the computer and I read stuff. I don't have access, and I'm not on. I don't have my live stream running on there. My card on there, but we'll see how Lucchesi is. I like him a lot. I thought maybe he should have pitched a hell of a lot more. I am very pleased with the depth of the pitching staff, especially the bullpen. I think the Met bullpen is going to be really good this year. But everything's tempered due to the fact that we have Jeremy Hefner as the pitching coach. I'm very troubled by that. And let's talk about the everyday lineup and really the players around the horn, as it were. We need 3 more likes. Let's get that 3 more likes. I would love to get more likes on here than people in here. Let's hit that like button. But as you know, the catcher on this team is going to be Francisco Alvarez. He looked really good last year. His defense was excellent the whole year. But obviously, the rigors of the Major League season wore him down, and obviously, there is an issue with fatigue. I saw the numbers. He hit 239, I think, before the All-Star break with 17 home runs, and hit 174 with 8 home runs in the second half. That is about endurance and fatigue and preparation. We have this issue with Kevin Parada, who's in the Mets minor leagues right now. He's going to be in Double A this year. He's got the same issue right now, and he's dealing with fatigue, which is probably a long-term problem for him moving forward. I'm very concerned by his ability to not wear down. But with Alvarez, I think he's going to be fine. He has been able to adjust everywhere he's played. He is a tremendous power hitter. Bat him low in the lineup, bat him 6th, 7th. Just leave him alone. Let him catch this pitching staff. He's an excellent defensive catcher. Shocked at how good he is. Because the word was that he was okay defensively. He was okay throwing the ball. He is excellent. I think we can all agree to that. I mean, he's really good. From Paul B. Why wouldn't the Mets want to do an MRI on Senga's arm? They want to give it time? Where have I heard this excuse before? I'm going to say this, and this with all due respect. Live in the now. Okay, one has nothing to do with the other. And if the player says he doesn't need it, he doesn't need it. Okay? And if there's something wrong with the arm, he's going to find out tomorrow anyway. What's 1 day or 2 days? It isn't a problem. I don't deal with the negativity. I don't like hearing people comparing things from 30 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago to today. It has nothing to do with now. And one thing I'm surprised the Mets didn't do is they didn't trade Omar Narvaez, because we heard that they weren't too happy with him. That he was kind of one of the players that the Mets had, Tommy Pham had said was one of the lazy guys in that clubhouse. I would also say this: the Mets only have two catchers. Mets only have 2 catchers, folks, on the 40-man roster. I thought they would have a 3rd catcher on there. Although we do have Tomas Nido still in camp. He's still with the Mets. Tomas Nido, God bless him. He's still hanging around. He's still hanging around, folks. God bless him. God bless him. You know. Thought we'd seen the last of him. I thought I'd seen the last of him when they sent him down and then they DFA and nobody picked him up. What a shock. I thought maybe somebody would have picked him up in the offseason or we would have just gotten the hell out of here. Frank Mercurio. Let's go Mets. That's right. I'd love to highlight some of the comments here. But obviously, I think I can. Let's see. See here. Let's see. Nope. Well, I can't pin the message. I'll have to pin the message here. See how that looks on here. Pin the message. I don't know, but I can't see it. But I know you guys can see it, I think. One more like. Let's get the 20 likes on here. We need one more like. One more pin. One more pin, Rodney. That's what we need. But the catching situation I'm pretty happy with because obviously with Alvarez here, the Mets are in good shape. And obviously we have Kevin Parada down in the minor leagues. His bat has to get going. But people are sort of giving up on him. He's only played 1 full season in the minor league, so we've got to give him a little time. But the problem is his endurance, and he did not have a good Arizona Fall League. He looked tired, from what I understand. 1 down. Now the Mets do sign this big catcher about a month ago, Giovanni Rodriguez, who's 17 years old. He's considered one of the best catchers in internationally. So Mets catching in the minor leagues is actually quite good. So I'm very happy about that. I mean, you can't be too unhappy about that. Mets catchers are going to be good for a long time. That position is going to be well stocked for many years to come, even if Parada doesn't make it. That's the benefit of what the Mets have been doing with their farm system. Is the catching position is going to be very strong for a very long time. Now at first base. And in the blue corner, Pete Alonso. And we'll talk about Pete at the end of this video too. The end of this live stream. Pete. He's coming into his walk year. Thank God he doesn't have a black hole bat behind him. And Daniel Vogelbach. I would mention Daniel Vogelbach signed a minor league deal with the Blue Jays. I think he played for the Blue Jays. I feel bad for Ballcap Sports. He didn't seem too enthralled that Vogel look, or that loser Vogelbach was back in Toronto. He has elite on-base skills. That's what our new general manager said about Vogelbach when he got here. It's from Scrat 437. Is Paul Gervasi a possible bullpen option later this year? Possibly. That's a possibility. From Paul B. Don't get me wrong. I'm all in to this year. I'm going to 6 preseason games so far. Oh, that's cool. Looking forward to Pierce. Let's go Mets. That is really cool, Paul. I would mention that I am in the early planning stages on going on the road. Here's from A Prodigy. Michael K said that Pete Alonso is a one-dimensional player. He can't play defense and is a terrible base runner. Pete's pretty good at first. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And Pete's not there for his base running. He's there to hit the home ball out of the ballpark. Michael K. Michael K can go suck it. Michael K did not like the brushback he's gotten from the Met fans, because us Met fans here in New York are tired of these assholes, these old, antiquated radio talk show hosts doing the same crap that they've been doing for 30, 40, 50 years. And the last 30-something years with sports talk. But, so Pete is going to be a free agent. The Mets should let him play the whole season here. He'll put up big numbers. Hopefully, we'll have a situation where Pete will put up such big numbers the Mets can't. And he's the most valuable to the Mets. He is not valuable to any other team. Any team makes a trade for Pete, the Mets will get nothing in value for him. The last big player that was the first baseman that got moved was Paul Goldschmidt. The Diamondbacks got absolutely nothing for him. Last year was the last player on that deal, and they DFA'd that player. So Pete has only value to the Mets. He's got very little value if the Mets trade him. He doesn't play shortstop. He's not a catcher, although that's not a premium position in terms of getting big prospects. He's not a pitcher, and obviously he's not a center fielder. Those are premium positions when it comes to what you're going to get in a trade. And I would mention Francisco Lindor. The Mets did not give up anything for him, as it turned out. Jimenez has played pretty good, and Rosario's obviously, I don't know if you knew this, Rosario signed with the Rays yesterday. So he's now bounced around now. The Guardians get traded to the Dodgers, and now, what's this? I saw this about. We'll talk about Tierney at the end of this video. I saw that. He's just a coconut head, Brandon Tierney. Brandon Tierney is a coconut head. His head's made out of a coconut. Bald head, empty shell. A lot of water moving around up there. A lot of coconut water, a lot of coconut juice. Not a lot going on there. I saw that about the Phillies. He fails to mention that that he fails to mention that Bryce Harper is the first baseman there and has a big contract there in Philadelphia. And they're very happy with the way he's played at first. So Coconut Head doesn't, he's just trying to get our go. He's just trying to get ratings. Doing it with that psycho killer. Chris McMonagle. I heard that, so that Spaz Licata was off today. Okay. Let's move on to Jeff McNeil. I guess McNeil's going to be playing second base all year, I guess. They're not going to move him around. They should move him a little bit, but I wonder how that elbow is going to be. His left elbow, that he has an issue with the UCL. I guess he's got a tear in it. And that's why they must shut him down the last few weeks of last season. I got my sheet here, don't know. I had to write this stuff. There's a lot to go through tonight. But McNeil has to come back and be the hitter that he was 2 years ago. And he has it within himself to do it, obviously. I really feel that the Mets, and, after he signed that contract with the Mets, I think the pressure of the contract got to him last year. I think he's going to have a better year this year if he's healthy with that elbow. So we'll see. We haven't played him Zach Short. He's going to be like the backup, I guess, to the Mets. I don't know much about him. I think they got him from the White Sox, I think. They got him in trade. Not a very high batting average. Now, one of the more biggest holes the Mets have on this club is third base. And it's been a hole really since David Wright stopped playing regularly. Before we get into that, hit the like button. Let's get to 25 likes for this live stream. Obviously, Brett Beatty, I have not been a big supporter of his really since late May last year. I had more of an opportunity to watch his at-bats. Strikes out a lot. Swings through a lot of pitches. I was not very impressed with the way he swung the bat. To be honest with you, I really feel that he is a guy that, I don't know, it's the pressure of the playing in New York, but he kind of reminds me a lot of Dom Smith in that he has a slow bat. That's what I saw. Now, I could be wrong, but I saw he had enough at bats last year that I say to myself, what's the problem there? I mean, really, what's the problem with him? And then he's so bad defensively. I mean, he's catching the ball with his face. From Paul B, do you think the lack of the shift affected Jeff McNeil? No, because Jeff hits the ball everywhere. I don't think that really matters. I think a hitter hits. He's a good hitter. He's a bad ball hitter. I think the pressure of the contract is what got to him. But Jeff has to be himself. And I've been trying to figure out where to bat Jeff in this lineup. And I'm thinking that, again, I really believe they should bat him third. For now. And probably bat Lindor fifth. I still believe that. Until they get a really strong, solid, established five-hitter, they should think about batting Lindor fifth. They're probably not going to do that because their attitude is, well, he's making a lot of money, which is probably a secondary thing. But they want him up with a chance to get more bats. But that's how I look at it. This lineup is going to change between now and next year. Whether P. Alonso's on the club or not, because you're going to see a lot of young players coming into this lineup. You're going to see a new leadoff hitter on this club sometime possibly this year, but certainly next year. So we'll see. But third base has been a black hole for a long time. Let's see if Brett Beatty can finally fill that situation, do the right thing, and is able to fill that hole. Then we got Joey Wendell, will be the backup. He's not a really big hitter, but he'll be a defensive guy that probably, Mendoza probably use him a lot late in the game, I would hope, for late inning defense. He's a strong defensive player. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor. What can we say about Lindor? I've been very critical of him, and I've taken quite the hits over the last few years. But I've been very impressed with his attitude, really, since the Mets made those trades, the trade deadline last year. He's shown real leadership qualities, and I'm very impressed with him. I'm very happy with him. He put up big numbers last year, and there really isn't a lot. I really felt, and he should have won the Gold Glove last year. I really felt that he should have won 2 Gold Gloves in the time that he's been with the Mets, because I think his arm has gotten stronger since the first year. The first year his arm was terrible. I don't know if he was dealing with some, and from what I heard, this is earlier tonight, that he was dealing with an injury last year, and he didn't talk about it. You wouldn't know it. Now he had a very strange season because early in the year he didn't have too many hits. He had a lot of home runs, a lot of extra base hits, but not a lot of singles. I guess he had around in the 250s, I think. But he had a very good season, and he was great defensively. He should have won the Gold Glove. He didn't get even a sniff. He didn't even get a sniff. It was embarrassing. Meanwhile, that dope Anthony Volpe in the Bronx won the Gold Glove as a rookie. How? When the Yankees and the fans were complaining that he shouldn't be playing shortstop, how did he win a Gold Glove? It made no sense. So Lindor, I expect him to have another big year. Mets will probably bat him third. I wouldn't, but I can see them. They're going to do that. Left field, Brandon Nimmo. That was announced yesterday or the day before that. Nimmo is going to be playing left field. No problem there. Of course, according to WFN, he's a fake hustle guy. Like I said, we'll get into more WFN at the end of this live stream. An irresistible chicken sandwich. Let's see. I can't wait to try the Citi Field food again. They got good food there. They do have good food there. From A Prodigy, Lindor is an underappreciated Met. I think people are starting to see I think people are starting to appreciate him now. One more like, we'll get to 24 likes. Let's hit 25 likes, folks. And the Mets signed Harrison Bader to a contract. He will be the center fielder on the Mets. And he's a great defensive player. He's got the most defensive runs saved at that position in Major League Baseball over the last 5 years. He has to stay healthy. We know he can hit in postseason. But overall, during the season, he struggles offensively. He might be a guy that the Mets use a pinch hitter late in the game, maybe left-handed bat late in the game. We'll see. Now, right field. Starling Marte must be healthy for this club to have any kind of offense. If he's healthy and can still hit at his age, the Mets offense will be good. Met offense was excellent in 2022 up until he got hurt, and then he just wasn't the same after that. You would hope that he's healthy and he's still productive at his age, and that the Mets will be pretty good shape offensively with him on this club. This was a major problem last year, and really the last several years. Last 2 years. He's in the third year of his contract. He's got one more year. He must have a good season. He must be healthy. And the Mets don't have to play him every day. They can play him 120 games, not play him a day game after a night game, not play him several days in a row. It's very, very important to keep him on the field. And then the backup in the fourth outfielder on the Mets is Tyrone Taylor. I don't know much about him. So I know he's got power. He's a good defensive player. Obviously, Stearns has brought in a lot of defensive players over the course of this offseason. He's really emphasized that. Big reason why they brought Joey Wendell in here, because he'll play late any defense at short, second, and third. Third in particular. But we'll see how Taylor is. I'm sure I've seen him, but I need to see him on a regular basis with the Mets. But we'll see. I wouldn't mention David Stearns. The guy's done a good job, and when he was in Milwaukee, did an excellent job there. So let's give him a chance. I think most fans give him a chance. Those aren't that they're trying to just drum up nonsense. They're not. Okay. At the DH spot, we have two candidates. The Mets don't seem to be all that interested in signing a veteran free agent of a big magnitude, say that's going to cost them a lot of money, like JD Martinez, and they didn't sign Justin Turner. They didn't sign Jorge Soler. So they've given this spot in the lineup to Mark Vientos. with DJ Stewart being the other guy that's going to be given a chance to be a DH. I do not trust Stewart at all, either defensively, obviously, and offensively. Because prior to that August that he had and a little bit of September, he's been a 210, 215 hitter. So got to temper this player and see how this player is. In spring training in April, trust but verify with him. But going back to Vientos, I felt the Mets were very unfair with him last year. He should have been playing over that clown Vogelback. Vogelback was a disaster. I think we all know he was a loser, and he needed to be out of here. And the fact of the matter is that Vientos needed to play every day and be the DH. They waited forever to get rid of Vientos in terms of, get rid of Vogelback to be an everyday DH. They should have had Vientos in there, get him at bats. He's young. The club wasn't going anywhere the last few months. Anybody that watched this club knew that Vogelback was dragging his whole lineup down. And Vientos should have been given the chance way before he was called up. And then they sent him back, which was ridiculous. I think the kid can hit. I think he's going to hit about 250 and hit him for a lot of home runs. What's a lot? 25 home runs, driving 75 to 80 runs. But he has to play every day. He's going to strike out. All these guys strike out a lot. Let's get to one more like. Let's get to 30 likes. Now, the Mets do have a bit of insurance. They signed a few guys, veteran outfielders, and veteran first baseman to be the DH if they need them. Ben Gamel was one. He's played. I guess he played with the Brewers. He played with the Pirates. He played with the Padres. So obviously Dave Stearns knows him really well. He's had and the Rays, I believe, and he's bounced around a lot over the last few years. So we'll see. He's not a big power guy, but I'm sure he'll probably go to the minor leagues, and if they need him, to call him up. Very important to bring in the. It's ridiculous to have to talk about this. How important it is to have veteran players in the minor leagues that can come up in a pinch and help you out. So many people complained about the players the Mets signed this offseason. No matter what kind of contract it was, they did nothing but complain about it. I couldn't believe it. They signed Chi-Man Choi, who obviously had been with the Pirates as well, and with the Rays. He was very successful with the Rays. And he's had some success in the majors. He's been a pretty good major leaguer. I would think that they would DH him if they need him to play first a little bit, gives him a little depth. And of course, they re-signed Luke Voigt, who was in the Mets minor league system last year. He was in the Mets minor league system, played really well. And that's another guy the Mets didn't call up, which I didn't understand. The guy was hitting, you could have DH'd him. And this is a guy that's had a lot of home runs in the majors. He's had 95 home runs in the majors. I couldn't believe when I saw that statistic. And they had him down in the minor leagues, which made no sense. And he was doing well in Syracuse. And then he asked for his release, and I guess he signed with the Brewers. But that was a guy the Mets could have used last year. If he didn't want to play, if Buck didn't want Vogelback here, and Apple didn't want to play Vientos, they should have called up Luke Voigt. He would have done well. They never gave him a chance. That's the one thing I noticed about Billy Epler. He was a little stubborn. He became very stubborn about those players that he traded for in 2022. It took him forever to realize that Darren Ruff was a disaster. And that was a weird trade. If you look at it, what a disaster of a trade for both sides. And, we mentioned it, J.D. Davis, who played for the Giants. He's not played that well. I was looking at his numbers. His numbers are below average as an offensive player. I think 95 OPS plus. 30 likes. Thank you. Ding, 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 ding. 30 likes. And obviously Darren Ruff was a disaster. I would mention this player, Michael Givens. I think we forgot about him. He pitched terribly when the Mets made that deal with the hell was he with? He was with the Cubs. What a terrible move that was. The guy had done nothing. I don't remember what they traded him for. Or what they traded to get him, but he was terrible last year. In 2022, those last 2 months. Just dreadful. And obviously, Vogelback was a disaster, and they lost Colin. What's his name? What was the player they traded for Vogelback? Somebody in chat, just write his name out. I forget his last name. His first name was Colin. But that guy pitched well, and then they moved him for that guy. And my attitude at first was like, well, he's a minor leaguer that hadn't pitched, but he's 28 years old. He hadn't pitched at all. He wasn't a prospect, and he got to the majors, he pitched okay. And the Mets, and then it turned out to be a disaster, that trade for the Mets. Because Vogelback was a disaster last year. Crazy. So just leave his name in there so I know. I don't remember his name. Holderman. That's it. Thank you, A Prodigy. Colin Holderman. And he pitched well for the Pirates last year. Although he did not pitch well in the second half of the Pirates. And then he got hurt. But he didn't pitch well at all when he went there in 22. But he pitched really well last year. What a mess. That trading deadline, what a mess. What a dud. And I wouldn't mention this about Epler. We're going to see what kind of guy he is in terms of scouting young players. He's got a lot of good remarks and a lot of good grades with the last two drafts he had. But in terms of pitching, in terms of bringing in minor league pitching and bringing in depth for your pitching staff, not very good. Not very good. So let's get into the Mets prospects. Two prospects to keep an eye on. Two guys that are probably going to have a really good chance to be on this club this year. There's the outfield they picked up for Justin Verlander. That's Drew Gilbert, who's been compared to Lenny Dykstra, Brett Gardner. He's considered to be a very good piece, very good outfielder. He's got power for a little guy. He does everything well. He's not an elite prospect, but he has a chance to be an everyday player. People say that he's a winning player. People say that he is a guy that if he's on your team, you're going to love him, but if he's on the opposition, you're going to absolutely, positively hate him. And we know that a lot of people hate Lenny Dykstra. I would mention this about Lenny. If you don't know, Lenny Dykstra had a stroke. And I don't think it was a mini stroke. It was probably a full-blown stroke that he had. I think he's not doing well. I know they kind of painted it differently, that he's doing well. But the fact that he has not gotten onto social media really, other than put out a tweet, doesn't mean that he put that out. Sending our prayers out to Lenny, because it seems that might have been an issue. Now, he might be in bad shape. So, that's very scary when a person has a stroke. And he's very young to be having that. It's way too young. Way too young. But the other player, it's a great segue, is Mike Vassell, who was the closest guy to the majors with the Mets. Right-handed pitcher. I would mention about Gil, he's a left-handed bat. So we'll see how he develops over the next couple of months. But he's pretty close to the major leagues, and Dave Stern said that he's pretty close. Mike Vassell. He pitched, I guess, 6 games in AAA. He's the closest to the majors. He had a no-hitter going into the 9th inning with the Syracuse club last year. He is a 4th or 5th starter. But the weird thing about pitching is these guys can pitch one way in the minors and then become a big star in the majors. Jacob deGrom is a good example of that. Matt Harvey was actually a very good example of that. Matt Harvey was expected to be a number 3 starter. And when he came to the major leagues, he was doing much harder than people were talking about. He was lights out. So you never know about pitchers. They can come out of nowhere. A star can come out of nowhere, be honest with you. So we'll see. But a guy that the Mets really liked, and I saw they were talking about him on SNY, it's Christian Scott. There's articles about Christian Scott. We'll see. A Project says, my friend who works at the Cyclone says Don Hamill and Vassell are the most ready. Okay. They did mention in an article, and I read an article for the Prospect Hut. I posted it on 3 pitchers, Vassell, Hamill, and Scott. Vassell was the closest to the major leagues. We'll see. I don't know much about Hamill. I've read his stuff, but we'll see how he is going forward. A couple other pitchers to keep an eye on with the Mets are a couple of relievers that possibly could help them that are prospects. Left-handed Nate Lavender does very hard, and Paul Gervasi. I know somebody mentioned him early in the chat, early in the stream. He pitched, I guess, with the Cyclones last year. He's 6'10", and Nate Lavender's been a very good reliever in the Mets system. These guys keep an eye on, because obviously the Mets are going to be going through a ton of pitchers. Like all the teams are going to be going through a ton of pitchers this year. Those are guys keep an eye on with the Mets. And who's the last prospect here that I had? Oh, Luis Angel Acuna, who's interestingly enough, he's on the 40-man roster. I'm surprised they put him on the 40-man roster because he's not really a guy that they need to protect on the Rule 5. I don't think. But he's there. He's on the 40-man roster. He's going to start in Double-A. It'd be interesting to see if the Mets call him up. I'd be very surprised to see if the Mets call him up. And he's second. He's going to play second base. He's going to play the outfield. No, not outfield. I'm sorry. Second base and shortstop. He's going to be playing a lot on the infield. Also, Jet Williams. He's not on the 40-man, but he's pretty close to the major leagues himself. He's going to be in Double-A start the year. He's going to play shortstop and center field. That's a kind of, and I think they said second base too. So they're going to bounce him around, and he'll start Double-A. I think that Angel Acuna will be, Luis Angel will be in Double-A. They're both starting Double-A this year. But probably in all likelihood they'll be in Triple-A by May or June, I would think. Especially since they had quite an interesting time in Double-A, the two of them. Now, Acuna is obviously the brother of Ronald Acuna Jr. He doesn't have the power that his brother has. So that's the one skill that he doesn't have that keeps him from being an elite prospect. But he's probably going to be an everyday player. Jed Williams is probably the closest thing the Mets have to an elite prospect. I kind of alluded to him earlier in the video. He's probably the future Mets leadoff hitter, possibly this year. And then what happens is you put Brandon Nimmo low in the lineup. My view, my feeling is, once he is ready, this is Jet Williams, and it's going to be interesting to see where they play him, because obviously there's not really a vacancy at second with Jeff McNeil playing second, and Bader obviously is keeping the seat warm for somebody. Either be Drew Gilbert or Jet Williams. Now, I would mention about Gilbert, they could play him in right because he's got a very strong arm. He pitched in college and in high school. But these guys coming up are going to change this lineup. So even if we're pissed off in April and May, if this lineup is struggling offensively, I expect this lineup to start to pick up. It's going to pick up in business. Sometime at the end of May, early June, because some of these kids will probably be getting ready. Drew Gilbert's probably going to get ready, and he's a very driven player from what I understand. He has a chance to be a really good player and could be a guy who can bat him lower in the lineup or top of the lineup, and he's going to be a real pain in the neck. So that's why people saying Vegas is saying the Mets are going to win 82 games, which is interesting. A Project says Acuna is too small and has zero pop. Well, the height. The one thing I noticed about the prospects that Billy Epler brought in, they're all short guys. All of them. And Jet Williams is a short kid too. Let's see. A Project says Williams center field, Gilbert for right field, Soto on left. Well, we'll see. It's an interesting problem the Mets have. Mets have a very good problem they're going to have moving forward, because you're going to have guys here. There's going to be a glut in spots. And I would say this, the Mets don't have a third baseman of the future that is ready. Colin Howe could be a third baseman in the future, maybe. Jacob Reamer, maybe. But who knows? But what was I saying? The prospects. So guys keep an eye on Drew Gilbert, Mike Vassell, Jet Williams will probably be the future first leader hitter on this club. You put Brandon O'Bat hit behind Pete. It actually gives Pete protection. Uh, it gives Pete protection. You know, that's having an interesting problem because all these prospects. What's going to happen is you would hope that the best prospect of all these guys emerges. Once that happens, then you can decide if you want to move a player to another position or if you want to move a player. Period. Okay, the Mets have a lot of infields, a lot of middle infielders here. And we have not talked about Ronnie Mauricio, who's going to miss the whole year. You got guys here that you can move them around. Now, if Beatty doesn't take a step forward as a player, then the Mets are going to have to decide what they're going to do with some of these players. And we know that Alex Bregman is a free agent next year. I wouldn't sign him. He doesn't play a premium position. You want to get stuck with a guy who's 30, 31 years old, and he's got a murky past with the Astros. And you want to keep spending money, and you know you're going to have to spend money on Pete. You know you're going to be very interested in Corbin Burns. You know you're going to be interested in bringing in Soto. So, you know, that's the one thing. So you can't sign all these free agents next year. You're going to have to decide who are the young players that you want to carry forward. Now, there is no big, as far as I know right now, there is no big power hitter ready in the Met minor league system. Okay? So that's the one thing I do notice, other than maybe Stanley Consuegra. But I don't know where he is in terms of just his development as a player. He missed a lot of time last year, missed half a season. He does have pop, but I don't know. He might be a fourth outfielder or fifth outfielder. So that's the one thing about the Met organization you have to keep an eye on. The Mets don't have a lot of power. That's why they got to be very careful if they let Pete walk away. Now let me just go through a couple of free agents this is just the general part of the channel. There's all the free agents that are out there still. Cody Bellinger, still out there. Blake Snell, still out there. Matt Chapman, still out there. JD Martinez, still out there. And Jordan Montgomery. And a lot of these guys have the agent, Scott Boras. And as you know, Michael Conforto, his agent, is Scott Boras. I would not be surprised if at least one of them sat out to the middle of the season. Particularly Blake Snell. I could see him doing that. Because now we're in the second week of spring training, and these pitchers have not signed. Why has Jordan Montgomery not signed? Why has Blake Snell not signed? Why are these guys still out there? And people have been complaining, well, the Mets should sign. Well, why don't your team sign? You know, from Paul B. You don't think Mauricio has potential for power with the size? Here's the thing about Mauricio. I forgot about him. He does have big power. But the issue with him is he swings a lot. What was predicted in the minor leagues today be an average, an average offensive player. And he kind of showed that last year, Paul. He is a guy, I'm very impressed with him in terms of his defense. I love his arm. But him being hurt, I tell you, it really hurts his development. And it puts him so far behind. Is he an impact player? Probably not. Any of the prospects on them that the Mets have are elite players. The only guys I see that could be elite, and I've said this a few times, is Jet Williams and Christian Scott. But pitching is weird, and I've talked about it here. You can get a big pitcher out of nowhere. Jacob deGrom was supposed to be a middle reliever. Matt Harvey was supposed to be a number 3 starter. He wasn't supposed to be a number 1 starter. Big reason why the Mets went to the World Series in 2020 and 2015 is because he became a star, and Noah Syndergaard came up, became a big pitcher, and deGrom became a star. And he was obviously the Rookie of the Year, became 2-time Cy Young Award winner. These guys, you have to find these guys in your minor leagues. Right now, I don't see that other than Christian Scott, to be honest with you. So, but going back to Mauricio doesn't walk enough. He swings a lot. This time that he's missed is tough. It's very difficult. I feel really bad that he's missed this time, because I liked him. Of the three guys that I saw that could play third base, he was the guy I liked the most. I think most people liked him the most too. People on balance. So, you know, that's kind of where we stand right now. Let's talk about WFAN. And really, I have a video that I'm going to post on the Baseball Hotel. Another video to talk about with these clowns. And this is about Boomer Esiason when he went after Steve Cohen 3 years ago. And this goes back to the fairness situation. Treating the Mets fairly. You don't treat the Mets fairly, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to make fun of you. Make fun of you and do what I need to do. And I'll have an interesting video on him when this video is over. So you need to hit the subscribe button. Just go in. I didn't put the link in this channel on this video. I can't do it right now. But I'll talk about that whole situation from 3 years ago, right after Steve Cohen bought the team. Now I understand that Brandon Tierney today, the Coconut Head, said that the Phillies are going to sign Pete Alonso. They're not doing that because Pete's not going to sign to be a DH. Pete's going to sign to be a first baseman. The Phillies have a first baseman with an enormous contract, and Bryce Harper. They like him at first. He likes playing first. He's the best player on that team. The Coconut Head doesn't understand that there are other players out there that are in positions where he's trying to move them to. And that is obviously one of them. And he has to understand that. He obviously does not get that. WFN is desperately trying to trade Pete Alonso at all costs. For a very simple reason. To show that the Mets again screwed up with something. That the Mets screwed up on losing a player that is a homegrown guy. So they can say, well, David Wright was the only guy that wanted to be here. Ergo saying that the Mets don't do anything right. When they do right, they do wrong. You cannot replace the power. You cannot replace Pete Alonso's worth to the Mets. He has worth only to them. His value is not very high with any other team. And that's just a fact. And WFAN has done nothing but badmouth him since August. Because obviously the Mets were looking to move him. They just wanted to see what his value was. But ever since then, they've been digging and digging and digging. And everything is vague. They don't put out facts. They put out vagaries. They said a couple of weeks ago, Tierney and Licata are so stupid. They talked about how they wanted Pete to get moved. So that it was Licata. Brandon Nimmo needs to be the leader. So you gotta trade Pete so he can shine. This makes no sense. This is a guy that can't. And we love Brandon Nimmo, but he can't. He hasn't been healthy. Pete stays healthy, plays every day. Now this thing with the Phillies. Pete's signing with the Phillies. I would mention that Tierney and Licata have been putting out all these rumors, just ruining this guy's reputation. And Pete hasn't said anything. In fact, every time we see anything, Pete always giving to a charity. Oh, he's getting money from MLB. He's doing all this great stuff. And you have WFAN putting out this garbage. And as far as I know, I'm the only person on a regular basis that goes after them like I do. Everybody else is saying, don't give them attention, I don't watch. You need to talk about it. You need to expose them. You need to shine light on them. Because if you don't, they're not gonna change. And they've been reacting to my videos. And they send these little messages out. They've been sending messages out to me tonight. Tiki Barber was saying, trying not to say that Met fans are crazy. He's saying that basically Met fans are cuckoo. They like to stare at the walls instead of noticing what's going on here. We know the situation here. We know they didn't do much this offseason in terms of making splashy moves. They've done that the last 2 years. And they've lost a lot of money. Can't keep spending money every offseason, And they've been very consistent about wanting to rebuild this farm system. They've had to get consistent. Now they can get consistent because you got one guy running the club now. And obviously Boomer and Gio are a disaster too. Obviously, they had this relationship with Barstool Sports, so they prop up everything with Frank Fleming, and he's been on that radio station twice in the last month and a half. So, Rocky Marciano says trade WFAN to North Korea. They'll throw them out. I mean, there's a reason why sports talk in the country, just in general, is struggling so badly. They're losing money like crazy because people don't want to listen to the radio and hear. The audience has changed. Okay, back in the day when we didn't have podcasts, didn't have YouTube channels, fans were basically held hostage to these radio shows, these radio stations in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s. It wasn't until these podcasts came in, and YouTube channels like my own, that gives the fans an alternative, I mean, we don't have like an alternative on the radio. Then in New York, we get ESPN, which is just another WFAN light, and then a lot of times they're not doing anything locally. And now they lost their FM dial, which means they lost the war with WFAN. And Michael Kay is a disaster. He's just like them. But this show and a lot of other shows on this particular platform gives the fans the possibility to find something that they want to listen to and watch. I try to be different. I try to be funny. That's why I do a homeless report on the Baseball Hut 2. I do, clickbait on here. I would mention that WFN did a clickbait video about Blake Snell last week. Pathetic. Trying to be like us YouTubers. Good luck. This is from Derp Star 2016. The Mets go to the playoffs this year. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I thought they were going to make the playoffs last year, and their pitching was. When the Mets pitching isn't good, they're in trouble. Because the Mets pitching is always good. So, but we'll see on that. But that's the thing about talk radio. It is old. It's antiquated. Talk radio isn't what it used to be. And the fact that the audience now has options, like I said, these podcasts and this channel and other channels on YouTube and other places. Why would you want to listen to your team getting hammered every day? You get told that Brandon Nimmo is a fake hustle guy. You don't want to hear that. I mean that's the one thing you don't. And then they act like that, and they're so smug, on TV and on the radio, And any fan that gives them any kind of opposing view, they hang up on you, they belittle you when you're off the air, or they say there's something wrong with you, or somebody positive, like Carl Banks. Says you need to be positive about your fandom, and they hung up on him because he had stats talking about how Kayvon had improved as a defensive back, as a linebacker, and Spaz Licata hung up on him, and he got so aggravated he quit the show, And then you had the morning show badmouth him twice on Twitter, on their shows. It's disgusting. And then you wonder why people don't want to listen to talk radio. Like I've been saying on the other channel, is that talk radio thinks it's like the 60s. They think it's the 70s and the 80s when Imus and when Howard Stern were on, and they were talking about nonsense and getting people all riled up. It's not like that anymore. The audience has changed. The audience isn't going to sit there and listen to the Mets getting hammered all the time. I can't tell you how many people have written to me and say that 90% of the comments I get that are about the Mets and WFAN, they all agree with me. So, but anyway, hit that like button. We're going to end the live stream now, but hit the like button before we go. I'm going to do more of these streams. I don't know if there'll be one tomorrow, because I'm going to hang out with my lady friend tomorrow in the evening. But maybe I'll be back Friday. Maybe I'll be back Saturday. You never know. But hit that like button before we go. This has been a very good stream. I thank you for coming by. We'll be back again. I'll be back again. Trying to get the streams back up and running a little bit, and hopefully like the stream. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on replay, leave comments in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.